What's up, Stallions and Stallionettes? AK-40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven. So I've got about 30 additional hours on the Scuf Instinct Pro over here since my first comprehensive review that will be linked in the description below. And if you haven't heard my initial thoughts, I would recommend watching that first, as this video is kind of a plug-in or DLC to that video. You know, that's the main core video over there, and this is my additional or tack-on thoughts after getting more stick time with this bad boy. I don't know why it's bad or a boy. I generally don't assume the gender of my controllers. Non-binary joint over here. Let's get it. All right, so I'm coming off about a 30 just about consecutive hour gaming session. I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired.
All right, I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.
I do have additional thoughts that I would like to share with the Stallions and Stallionettes and the rest of YouTube, the ones that don't hit the subscribe button as well, because they deserve this information as consumers before they go out there and spend their hard-earned shekels, about $200 of them, on this controller here. Talking a little bit fast, not crystal meth. Caffeine. This is a great controller, and I do think this does hold two titles for controllers in 2021, and that would be, first of all, the most anticipated Xbox controller of 2021. The most anticipated controller, period, I would say is also a Scuf controller, but it is their PS5 Reflex controller, which, by the way, is sold out everywhere, which I do think is kind of a marketing hype technique on the part of Scuf by not manufacturing enough or just storing a few of them in the warehouse. What it does is it creates FOMO, or fear of missing out, and people are like, oh, well, I gotta get those because they're rare and I can't really get them readily. But overall, this is a very hyped controller because, well, this is the first time Scuf has revised their paddle design in probably about 7 or 8 years. That yellow controller on the wall right there, that is actually a pretty rare Scuf Beast paddle controller from the 360 era. Oh, you're all over the place today, Kevin. Let's zoom in just a skosh on your skull here. The paddles, because that is the most important aspect of any premium controller. Yeah, trigger locks are great. Yeah, swappable thumbsticks are cool, but the rear buttons / paddles. Some controllers use paddles, others use rear buttons. These are technically buttons. I really gotta add on to what I said during my initial review. And I said that this is a fantastic design. Scuf went from having literally one of the worst paddle designs on the market. This is probably one of the worst designs out there. You'd have to switch back and forth between the paddles. You cannot comfortably cover all 4 paddles at once. That's complaint number 1, and that's a big one. Not to mention, these feel incredibly cheap and chintzy. Unless you have a 3D printer, you have to buy this from Scuf. And of course, Scuf charges a premium for all their replacement parts. And if you do have to mail it into them, it takes roughly 7 to 14 days to get it to them and back, and they do charge you. For durability, comfortability, not a word. Overall, the fact that you couldn't cover all 4 of them simultaneously without cocking your fingers like the dude from Scary Movie 2. Now, this is much better, but I do want to say, you can't really cover all 4 of them simultaneously. Let me explain why. You want to put your middle fingers right up in there like that, right? I can either pull inwards to press these 2, or basically extend my finger out by straightening it and press these 2. So technically, yes, you are covering all 4 of the paddles simultaneously. If you hear me call them paddles, just know that they're buttons. But here's the thing. You can hold it like this as well, too. That's not very comfortable. You want to hold it like that. But here's the thing. If you want to press 2 buttons simultaneously, say, for example, you're trying to jump and reload at the same time, or you're trying to slide and swap weapons at the same time. If you have, for example, the 2 buttons that you're trying to hit and map to the same side, you kind of have to like wedge your finger in there and hope that you press both of them. Now, I still think it's a great paddle design, but I did want to caveat that by saying you're not really like covering all 4 of them simultaneously, if that makes any sense. Like, you are covering them, but you cannot pinpoint exactly which one you want to hit, which only comes into play when you are trying to hit 2 or even 3 buttons at a time. Like, maybe you're trying to do a pro gamer move where you slide, swap weapons, pop a fresh mag in, and then drill somebody in the suck hole. Makes it a little difficult. Also, I will say there is a big learning curve. This is different than any other paddle controller on the market. You'll probably need at least, I would say, 16 to 30 hours of stick time before you really start feeling comfortable with this thing. You know, muscle memory for me, I'm like, whoa, this is weird. But it feels good. The next thing I want to mention is that the silicone or rubber compound that they use in the analog sticks, as well as the back here, actually got a little bit slick over time from, I guess, the oils in my hand and how tightly I was clenching the controller for that long session I talked about earlier. Now they're not as grippy, so maybe they just need to be cleaned off or something. So I've got a little bit of man grease, a little bit of Italian gamer goo inside of these thumbsticks, but Yeah, the silicon compound hasn't broken in well, I would say. It's actually gotten slicker as opposed to some controllers out there. They start out a little slick, but through friction and using them, they actually, the compound breaks down and actually gets grippier over time. The opposite of that has happened with these grips on the back as well as the thumbsticks there. This is a damn good, holy shit, that's the wrong way. Other than that, this is a super bomb controller, and like I did allude to in my initial video, this has gone from being one of the worst paddle designs, Scuf, or Corsair, I know it's your parent company, to honestly one of the best and most intuitive designs on the market. I think they did a lot of R&D or research and development and probably listened to the gaming community and a lot of the feedback that they were getting, which was inherently negative. You know, granted, there's a lot of Scuf fanboys out there that are probably like, well, Scuf has a perfect paddle design, Kevin. Pristine, absolutely amazing. But you're either lying to yourself or you just haven't tried a lot of other premium controllers on the market, because believe you me, sister, them things were bad. This is fantastic, but again, if you're trying to hit multiple of the rear buttons at the same time, because, you know, each middle finger is technically covering 2 different buttons, it can be a little bit confusing to your brain when you're trying to like hit multiple back buttons, and the rubber hasn't broken in too well. Other than that though, I mean, this thing is just bomb. And if you haven't watched my initial video, not only because I'm trying to get my view minutes up for the month, which I am, but also you should watch that video. It's pretty hot, sticky fire, as the kids say nowadays. That's gonna do it, Stallions. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, dropping a like on it will help it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well. Might help them to save $200 if they're in the market for this bad boy. Probably not, because I'm still recommending this controller, so buy it. It's linked in the description below. Not sponsored. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, as well as tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, and honest gaming peripheral reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, chairs, mics, etc. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.